93 yesterday, head back up there again for today. 96 unexpected high for this afternoon. 97 on Saturday. 90s again on Sunday. And that's wonderful. Get to see the sunshine, hot temperatures, and all that because I need to get out in the yard and get some work done after all the rain and the storms and stuff. So perfect. Perfect. All right, let's do what you got to do. Hey, it's 7:31 here at KWRD 1470 98.5 our Good Morning Texas program, and George McFarland, Seven Wonders Advisors, as always on a Friday morning here on the program. So here's the deal, with all this rain and more rain and more storms and the creek in the front yard is just overflowed and messed up and blown out. I don't know about everybody else, but my money's just going right down the drain, right down the creek. I've spent I worked all winter long to save up some money just so I could spend it all on improvements in the yard, in the creek.
Yeah.
Just to see it washed away. And yes. So that's my financial situation. How do you fix that?
That's a great question. You're kind of doing it. You have your Social Security, but then you also do a part-time job, do it very well, and you're an in-demand, popular announcer for games, and so you take opportunity where you can, as long as you can, and then during that, where can you find space? One of my favorite things to do is, like, most people can give up 1 or 2% of their income, and it may affect them, but they can make it work. So you do what you can, and then you do what I like to call the split dollar method. Not just me, everybody calls it that, but the split dollar method is, if you get a raise or you get some sort of increase in your pay that you, then you don't take the whole increase and add it to your needs. You put half in your checking account and put the other half in your savings account. And that way, at least you can build up over time an emergency fund and hopefully maybe some additional resources that you can then build through investment and be able to at least try to help out with, the rainy days that come down the road.
Yeah. See, my emergency fund is just between the dirt and water. It's just floating on down the creek there, and that's good to see all your hard work is going to a good cause.
That's right. There's an excavating company somewhere that needs a new pool for Mama.
Oh, believe me, I've helped him invest in his new boat that he bought, or whatever it was. I've done my part to help the investment, and I'll probably have to get him back out there and do some more work.
Oh yeah. It's a tough situation. I mean, it's not like money's getting easier. Talking about rainy days financially, our country's.
I still have a tree through my house, so that's a wonderful thing.
Praise the Lord for that. Yeah, I know of a gentleman that he had, I believe, 2 trees fall on his house, and then after all that was fixed with 2 separate roofs, he then had a lightning bolt strike the light post right next to his property, and it burned a black line all the way through his yard from one side to the other. So I mean, for some people, when it rains, it pours.
Yes, and it just you can go through 6 months stretch, a year, where it was just one thing after another that you had no control over.
That's right.
And that does happen.
So we have these things that happen to us that are outside of our control. With that being said, that's why trying to do little measures of, that you protect yourself from future problems by, where can I save some money here today? And how can I put that into an account? And how do I hold myself accountable to really actually leaving that alone until it's an emergency? So everybody's on a different spectrum when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And that's why a personalized, let's sit down and talk about it. And one thing I don't bring up enough is that with Seven Waters, it doesn't matter to us if you walk in and all you're making is your Social Security income and that's it, or if you're a millionaire. We're going to help you. Now, we may not have the same kind of resources to help somebody who's on the Social Security that we have to help somebody else, but we can maybe give you some ideas of where you can maximize that money, or find out if you have additional Social Security that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
But so if you want to at least sit down and talk with us at some point, you're welcome to give us a call. 903-730-6688 is the phone number that you can call. And again, we'll give you some time to at least let's create a plan. And we've done that. We've seen clients that in the past didn't even have 2 nickels to scrape together, and now we're starting to hear back from them because they've accomplished their first goal of creating their emergency fund, and now they're starting to have some additional funds outside of that, and they're excited to start looking at what they can do, and they're closer to retirement. Even some are in retirement.
Yeah. George McFarland, Seven Waters Advisors, with us here this morning, and I don't want to get totally off topic because I'm not sure what the topic was this morning. I'm not sure that we've even got to it yet. But,
we haven't.
But since you brought it up, it's just out of curiosity. Seriously, do you know a millionaire when they walk through the door? Because I know sometimes people are very flamboyant and flaunted, and other times they're the most unassuming people you would ever imagine.
Right, and that's the truth of it. Most of your millionaires, you're not going to know they're millionaires, and that's why actually they are millionaires, because most of your millionaires will never buy a car right off the lot. Maybe except for back in 2019, 2020, or whenever all those chips for the vehicles went away, and then it made it where used cars were so expensive, you might as well buy a new car because the price is the same. But with rare exceptions, they're not going to buy a used car. A new car. They're not going to drink imported beer. They're not going and getting designer clothes made all the time.
Yeah.
They live frugally, and then they take that additional money and they make sure they invest it, and then they make sure it grows. So you shouldn't really, for most millionaires, you're not going to know who they are. And the flamboyant lifestyle is not usually sustainable. So quite often those people who live quite flamboyantly are the ones that I would sit next to. Back when I was remodeling for disabilities, I used to, we used to change out showers, bathtubs, widen doors, etc. In a former career. And the people that I would go to homes, it'd be beautiful, immaculate homes, and they you can tell they used to have all sorts of money, but now they're on the latter half of their retirement and they need remodeling done to their home, can't even get it done because they don't have the funds, because they live too lavishly, and and because of that, and I'm not judging them. I'm just saying that if you're not careful with the way that you use the money that God's given you, then it could really put you into a major bind. I've seen people basically have to give up their home because their body wasn't where they can move around their home safely, and they did not have the resources to do so.
Yeah. I guess in your financial planning, you can't plan for your health, but you kind of have to acknowledge it that it's not going to be all the time what it is perhaps now.
That's right. And that really does lead right into what the subject is. The subject.
We do have a subject today.
We do. I thought you had a good question. I figured we can go down that rabbit hole.
Sure.
So nonetheless, long-term care is a major concern when it comes to your financial plans and retirement. Long-term care is one of the things that people want to talk about the least. Okay. It's one of the things that people think about the least. And it's also something that they don't want to take a time to look at it. And there's several reasons for it. But let me ask you this. When you think about long-term care, having to go into nursing care, what's your initial thought about the idea of ever going into nursing care?
I would think most folks, certainly once they pass 50 and get on into the 60s and 70s, oh man, I don't ever want to do that. I don't want to have to be. No, I don't want to do that.
That's
But-
right.
But what you want and what you think is best for you, there comes a point in time where all of a sudden you just can't do for yourself anymore.
Right. That's it. And so, but the thing is, I can't tell you how many guys, whenever I bring up the conversation, go, well, she'll just shoot me and bury me in the backyard. Okay, well, fine. Now, you don't have to worry about long-term care, and hers is taken care of for at least the next 20 to 40 years because she's going to go to jail. You know, she's got her long-term care. But that's the thing. It's a tough subject. It's a subject we want to avoid. It's also many people who are walking into retirement are actually dealing with their own parents going into long-term care. They're quite often, they have mom or dad living with them at that point in time. They may actually be having to foot some of the bill. So
Well,
they,
we talked about it. Goodness, Charles Harris talking about it yesterday on D-Day. There's a lot of 100-year-old people running around.
that's it.
We saw them yesterday in the D-Day ceremonies.
That's right.
I mean, granted, there's a bunch of them that aren't around anymore, but I'm amazed at how many still are.
Yes, and so people are living longer and longer. But here's something, and going along with that, so not only are you living longer, they're finding out that it's not taking longer for disease to set in. That means it's not like people are living longer lives that are healthier. It's that they're still getting heart disease, diabetes, cancer, or whatever at one age, and they're living inside of that longer. Meaning not only are your chances of long-term care going up, which right now, anybody who is over the age of 65, if you've made it to 65, you now have an 80% chance of winding up needing some sort of long-term care. And so, how much time do we have? We talked about everything else. So where are we at right now?
Oh, so I got a couple of minutes here.
Okay. So long-term care, it is going to be something that most people go, it's way too expensive. I went to this insurance agent and he told me, and I've always been told, well, you just got to get it when you're younger. Here's what people don't know about regular long-term care insurance is that they're not allowed to raise the price on you for long-term care. Now, some of you may be listening to me who have long-term care insurance go, wait, no, they've raised the price on me 4 times now. Right, yeah, because what they do is they can't raise it on you individually, but anytime the overall cost of healthcare goes up, which means it affects the entire class, they get to raise the prices on everybody. And so what happens is about every 5 years, you get a letter saying, well, we're going to have to raise the rates, so you either pay this much more or you're going to pay the same amount but take less coverage. And it gets to the point where you have inflation growing and you have hardly any coverage at the end. So I understand people's concern about solving for long-term care, but here's the deal. If you don't have a plan, and that plan does not necessarily mean you get a traditional long-term care health insurance policy, but if you don't create a plan, you need to understand that Medicare does not pay for your long-term care beyond 100 days, and they only pay a large portion of it for the first 20. So if you don't, what they do then is you go into Medicare for up to 100 days, you're paying most of that bill. And once you're out underneath that 100 days, you're paying 100% of the bill until you've spent down all your accounts and until you've spent down all your accounts until your property could be potentially put on lien for when you pass away. Then you go on to Medicare. And I mean Medicaid, and Medicaid puts you in nursing care. So if you don't have a plan, your chances of going to nursing care are higher than if you don't have a plan. I mean, if you don't have a plan, then if you do have a plan. So you need to have a plan. There's alternatives to long-term health care insurance. There's ways around the spend down laws. But if you don't take care of it now, it'll come up on you when you least expect it and you won't be ready. Okay?
No.
So, did I get it done in time? No?
Who cares about time? Yeah, I mean, you know, I have very little experience with the the whole nursing home thing, because again, my mom was one of those that just, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
But you ended up having to, and knowing that once we went to that route, she wasn't going to hang around long, and she didn't.
Right.
But it seemed like to me at the time, how much is it? Well, how much do you have? Whatever it was you had, whatever that person had coming in Social Security for that month, well, that's how much they were going to take.
Right. That's exactly right. You get a small allowance, and that's all you get. So they take all your income, except for a small allowance. They take your assets, except with some exceptions. And depending upon whether you're married or not, your home's up for hawk as well. Okay. So there are ways around it. There are laws to protect you. There are strategies using trusts. There are alternatives to a long-term care health insurance policy that make more sense, that are tax efficient. And this is even for people who may not pass a health exam. There are long-term care options. I have a client right now. He's got cancer and Alzheimer's, but yet he's able to set up on a long-term care plan that's going to give him additional revenue that he didn't have before and save him on taxes. So there are ways of mitigating that. So because otherwise what you've experienced with your mother is what happens all the time. There's nothing left for her to enjoy her life. She's put where they want to put her, not where she wants to go, right?
Yeah. All right, very good. Sunday morning, what's our topic?
How much money will it take for you to be satisfied in retirement?
Never enough.
Never enough. That's the point. That's the point of it. You got it. You know the punchline.
That's right. Seven Waters Advisors. Yeah, folks need to get a hold of Seven Waters Advisors.
Seven Waters Advisors, and that's the number 7. 7watersadvisors.com or 903-770-6688.
Very good. George, as always.